It's okay not to be okay, but I promise I'm trying. By rayrae118. Chapter 24, Part 2. The couple hurried through the dark halls, barely making it back to the tower before curfew. Ron and Hermione were sitting on the couch by the fireplace, looking much happier than they had been for the last couple of weeks. Neville was in an armchair nearby, reading the herbology book Hermione had given him for Christmas. They all looked up as Harry and Ginny joined them. "Where were you two?" Hermione asked, closing her Transfiguration textbook. Harry and Ginny looked at each other and blushed. "We were just spending some time together," Harry replied, before changing the subject. "So I gather you two made up?" It was the other pair's turn to blush. Ron turned a deep red and Hermione's cheeks were tinged pink. Neville chuckled, looking up from his own book. "I'm glad you guys are back. Something's going on with those two, but won't tell me anything." Harry sat down, pulling Ginny into his lap. Ron looked like he wanted to say something, but apparently he decided against it, and just followed, looking over at Hermione. The bushy-haired witch smiled. "Ron asked me to go to Hogsmeade with him next weekend." Harry smirked, nodding to his friends. "It's about time," he grinned. Ginny dug her elbow into his stomach. "What my boyfriend means is congratulations," she said, ignoring Harry's wince. They all laughed at Harry's discomfort and passed the next hour talking. It was nice to just spend some time together, without worrying about homework or the tournament for just a little while. They just enjoyed being with each other. Soon enough, it was time for bed, and the group headed up to the dorms, feeling much calmer. The weekend passed quickly with homework, spell practice, and the boys spending time with their girls. Harry introduced the others to the room of requirement, and after answering Hermione's questions that he could, they decided to move their spell practice there, since the room was much better than they were at conjuring dummies and scenarios for Harry to practice under. The rest of the group had been suitably shocked to hear what Harry and Ginny had discovered about the second task. Ron was all for telling Mrs. Weasley and letting her remount Dumbledore, but Harry and Ginny talked him out of it. "Mum doesn't need to worry, Ron," Ginny said calmly. "Besides, I don't think Dumbledore really has a say. The tournament is controlled by Bagman and Crouch, and they won't change anything. I'll be fine." Ron still looked mutinous, but the others seemed to accept the fact that there was nothing they could do, and they moved on. Now they knew the second task would take place underwater. They needed to find a way for Harry to be able to breathe. The bubblehead charm was Hermione's suggestion, but it was a 7th-year charm, and Harry doubted he'd be able to cast it. It was Neville who was the one who suggested using gillyweed. "It's a plant that, when swallowed, gives you gills. It should work well enough, though there are some debates about the effectiveness in fresh water versus salt water." Harry nodded thoughtfully. "Do you know where I could get some?" Neville smiled. "If you send an owl to the apothecary in Diagon Alley, they should have it. You can get some extra and practice a little before the task, so that you get the hang of it." "That's a great idea, Nev. Thanks." With that obstacle taken care of, they began to work on spells. Hermione had read about non-verbal casting and thought it might be a good idea, considering he would be underwater. They weren't really sure if he would be able to speak underwater, even taking gillyweed, and having the ability to cast spells without thinking could only be a good thing. After 2 hours and a great deal of hard work, Harry was able to cast a soundless levitation charm. As the book he had levitated lowered back to the table, Harry let out a great sigh. "This is harder than it looks," he admitted. "But you did it, Harry," Susan placated. "Non-verbal casting isn't something we would learn until 6th year, and many witches and wizards never become proficient." Ginny nodded, smiling as she gave her boyfriend a kiss. "You're doing great, Harry. We'll keep practicing. We've still got 6 weeks before the task." They decided to call it a night soon after, since it was getting late, and Harry was tired from all the effort he had expended that evening. As Transfiguration ended the next Tuesday, Harry motioned for his friends to head over to lunch without him. They seemed confused, but willingly left him alone with his guardian. Minerva saw his hesitation and waited until the rest of the students were gone, before she motioned for him to come closer. Before he made it to her desk, the door burst open once more, and they both turned to see Ginny join them. She smiled as she came to a rest beside her boyfriend. "What can I do for the two of you?" Minerva asked, smiling slightly. Harry bit his lip, looking down briefly. We wanted to talk to you about something from the second task. Minerva looked uncomfortable at that. You know I can't help you, Harry. Harry shook his head. I already know what it is, and what I'm going to do. What I want to confirm is whom the judges are planning on taking. Minerva looked even more uncomfortable. She glanced from Harry to Ginny, sighed and nodded. Your guess is correct, Harry. Miss Weasley will be deemed what you will sorely miss. Harry looked distinctly angry. What are they playing at? He growled. Minerva appeared to be taken back by his irritation. What idiot thought it would be a good idea to have 8 people take a dip in the lake in February? And to drag innocent bystanders into this? Will they even be given a choice, or just taken from their beds without so much as a by your leave? Minerva blinked before standing up. I cannot speak to the mindset of the committee that set up this tournament, so I cannot answer your question. But I will see to it that they are given a choice. And Albus may be many things, but I do not believe he will intentionally put any student in harm's way. Harry and Ginny both snorted, thinking all the things that Dumbledore was responsible for. The corner of Minerva's mouth quirked upwards as she knew what they were thinking. She moved around her desk so that she could give her charge a hug. He leaned into the embrace, thankful for the support. When she pulled back on an impulse, she also offered to give Ginny a light hug. Observing the two of them, she saw of their very real worry, and on a whim invited them to have lunch with her in her office, so that they might talk some more. They agreed, and the trio spent the rest of the hour talking about Harry's plan for the task, the DA, and how they were managing with their homework. It was rather enjoyable for all of them, as Minerva sent them off to their next classes, History of Magic for Harry and Arithmancy for Ginny. She reflected of the couple. She definitely wasn't surprised to learn they had begun dating several months previously. Watching the pair, she had the same sense of rightness that she had felt when James and Lily had begun dating. They just fit, and even though they were still so young, Minerva couldn't help but know that they had something special. She wouldn't be surprised to hear about their engagement in a few years. The idea that he might be getting too close too quickly worried her slightly, and she knew she would need to make sure Sirius finally got around to having the talk with Harry over the summer. But when it came down to whether or not she trusted Harry and Ginny, she did. They were responsible young adults, and she might worry about them being alone in a room together, but in the end, it was all about trust. End of chapter 24. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you enjoyed this. Really, really loving this. I know I keep saying it, but this is basically Harry Potter if it was happier, and I'm all for that. I love this franchise so much, but there's a lot of misery in it. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and spread the word to your friends about my channel to help it grow. Bye, my guys, gals, and non-binary pals. See you next chapter. Bye.